Hey guys, Geeky Rocket here, and this will be an inbox kit review of Dragon's Sd.Kfz 164 Nashorn 3-in-1 Smart Kit. This is a relatively new kit, came out in 2010. And as I said, it's a 3-in-1, so you have three variant options of the Nashorn. That is, you can do either the initial modified, and early, and we will go through that as we dive into this box. The kit number is 6386, and just at first looks at the box itself, gives a lot of detail as to what you can expect to find in this kit. Again, it goes over the three variants that you can build from, as well as the various ammo box storage, and all the details and goodies that you should be able to find in this kit. So great if you guys are new to Dragon. A lot of the smart kits and premium kits, at least, do have all this detail pictures of what you can expect to find in the kit. So very nice overall, just from a first look perspective. So let's dive into this box and see what we have. And as you guys know, this is my entry into Alexander Richard Marshall's Nashorn group build project. This will be the kit that I'll be doing. And I believe I'm going to be doing the initial modified. So here we go. We have our sprue map, as well as the instructions. This is the first page of the instructions. So the kit contains, it says it contains over 700 parts. However, you will not be using all of them, as you can only do one of the variants. There's only enough parts for one of the variants, and but there are minor details. So most of the parts you will be using, but as you can see, all the stuff that's shaded in blue, you will not be using. Again, you got two sprues for looks like the road wheels, a couple sprues for the ammo storage. Here you got the fighting compartment plates, the armor plates, more for the fighting compartment where the gun is going to be sitting on. It comes with a photo etch fret, as well as various metal parts. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. It actually comes with two springs for the seat. Instead of using the molded in seat detail, you can actually cut that off and use metal springs. I'll give that a look-see once we finish going through the instructions. But so far, I mean, as you guys know, Dragon instructions can be a little difficult to read through and understand sometimes. But typical Dragon starts off with your color callouts. And that is for, there we go. That'll be for the aqueous model colors. I believe it's Gunzy and Model Master color callouts. And also with typical Dragon instructions, you start out with your road wheels, drive sprocket, idler wheels, and return rollers. And then you get right into the lower hull assembly for step number 2. One thing, I have read through this a few times now, and it's a good practice to get into with any Dragon kit. Please read at least a few times before you start assembly through the entire instruction sheet. But this one is even more important because you're doing a 3-in-1, so they don't really always clearly define which parts go for which variant. So it is imperative to read through this at least a couple times, and then either make notes or border off which variant you want to do, and highlight the actual steps that apply to your variant. For example, here down in step number 6, you can see a hatched line or a hidden line that separates your initial and initial modified steps that apply to those two variants, and then it's separated by a hidden line here for the to separate from the earlier variant pieces that'll be assembled. So this I think it's very important to go through a few times. Again, Dragon isn't always the clearest instructions. I like looking through Trumpeter's and Tamiya's instructions a lot better. So you move through the front of the hull and the front armor plate where the driver is going to be sitting. Moves through to the back where there's 3 options depending on which variant you do for the exhaust manifold and such like that, as you can see there. Then you move on to your gun assembly, which is basically common for all variant. It uses the same gun. There's not much difference in there. But as you can see, it's chaotic. They're not very, each step is not 100% defined as to which parts apply to which step. So again, when you go through it, I make a habit of it now to border off each step so that it minimizes the amount of mistakes that you could potentially make. And here's where I was talking about, you got the metal springs. So those ones are molded onto the part, but you have the option of removing it and then adding the metal springs afterwards, which is fantastic. Again, you have some more for the interior of the fighting compartment, interior detail, which is very nice, very well done. Got MG34 that you can attach to the inside of it, as well as I believe on the next step you'll be having, you'll have the assembly instructions for, excuse all the paper noise, for the 88 millimeter rounds that are included in this kit, which is great. And again, there's a ton of optional steps for each variant, so please pay attention to those. So you don't want to find out you've done something wrong or made a mistake in step 8 and it comes back to bite you in the ass in like step 13 or 14 or further on down the road. So it is definitely imperative to make sure you guys read this over a few times. And I believe Alex came across this issue. Should probably highlight that. Template only, do not glue. This was a template for some of the interior detail of the fighting compartment. So I believe it's a plastic part that you just sit in there, just press fit in, whereby you will then attach H6 and 5 on either side of the compartment and H2 on either side of the compartment. Those 2 pieces you'll glue in, but this, I don't know if you can make it out, this defined line here is the actual template part, and that you do not glue. And again, you'll have 2 template pieces for each side of the fighting compartment, and so be careful with when you guys come to that step. I'm not sure, I would assume this is probably, you'll have that template piece all across the board for each of Dragon's Nashorn and Hornies. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the other self-propelled anti-tank gun. What is next? Okay, so after that, you're pretty much done the fighting compartment. You move on to the final assembly of the fighting compartment, and again, when you come to step 15, I'll point that out. It says in blue here, you got the option of early modified or initial modified and early variant. So again, if you're doing the initial modified or early, you would just jump to this step 15 instead of the one previous where it only says initial by step 15. So again, it's not always, jumps right out at your face, so you're gonna have to look through this very in a very detail-minded fashion. So again, there's a lot of parts, a lot of steps, stuff all over the place. That's too bad they couldn't find a better way of laying these instructions out. Here it says you got 93 tracks for left and right. I'm gonna have to do research just to double check and make sure that is correct. And you got 2 different gun locks for depending on which variant you do. This is for the initial only, where it's just like a clasp that kind of clamps down over top of the gun. But the one for the initial modified and early variants, the clasp is actually permanent piece, permanent part of the gun, as you can see there a little bit more. Let's zoom in. Yeah, there you go. and it comes with a cord too, a metal cord, which is a very nice nice detail addition. And then that is about it. And you go to your painting and markings. So 17 steps in total, and you get what, 8? Yeah, 8 marking options. 2 for each, 2 for the initial, 2 for initial modified and early. And again, this is all on the Russian front for markings. I will probably be doing this one right here, as it is the initial modified. And I just picked this one because it's got the numbered designation as well as the Balkan Cruises. The one above it just has the Balkan Cruises, as you can see, or Balkan Cruxes. Sorry about the pronunciation. Then you got two marking variants for the earlier variant, and that is that for the instructions. So let's move into the box itself. So very nice addition. It's a very, very long, badass looking 88mm aluminum barrel. Again, it'll come with the plastic muzzle brake, but you get one thread of photo etch, which is nice. Will add immense detail to this kit. And then you have your decals, and here, tiny as hell. Hopefully you guys can see that properly. It's a little hard in the box, but you might have to take my word for it. You can see the 2 springs right here. I'm not sure what these 2 spring parts are for, and then a very, very thin wire. I believe that's for the gun traveling lock on the initial modified and early variant. Sorry. So again, very, very fine detail, very thin piece of wire. You're gonna have to be very careful with that, I'm sure. So I'm not sure how many sprues in there. This box is packed right to the brim, so you're gonna get a lot of stuff in here. Moving on to looks like the ammo storage racks. So very, very nice detail on these 88mm shells. Kind of will save you time and money for going out and buying your own. Not a lot of ejector pin marks, as well as seam lines. The seam lines are very faint on this, which is nice. Again, you got some MP40s in their storage racks. You got the grill, the air intake for the fighting compartment. Very nice detail, very thin. An interesting note on this is, I think this is, where is it? Right here. Right here is kind of like hooks or clasps that will stick onto the side of the fighting compartment, whereby you can either put applique armor, such as, like, nets, or even hang rucksacks from these little clasps. But in other Dragon kits, such as T-34s, this would be photo etch, but it is very thin, very small, and it looks very in scale, which is nice. So there's no need for replacement. So that's a nice addition. So that is the ammo storage sprue, as well as other minor details. Here you got the fender, front part of the fender, and again, zoom in there. Nice detail. It's kind of like a diamond hatch pattern, which is nice. I'm surprised they even have the detail right underneath the fender. This is looking on the underside of the fender, and as you can see, also it's very, very thin, which is fantastic. No need to replace it for photo etch. Nice in scale. Again, see the diamond hatch pattern again on the front. So very, very nicely done. And here's some more parts for, I believe it's the gun assembly. Some various markers, bulkheads for reinforcement of the fighting compartment, as well as your gun traveling lock. So again, all nice detail, all nicely done, finely molded. Not a lot of flash. Actually, I haven't seen any flash yet. And where they have the sprue connections to the actual pieces, it's not in delicate places, so don't really have to worry about breaking stuff off when you remove it from the sprue, which is always great, because that's always a pain. So this is the front plate of the vehicle, And that is very, it's got a lot of nice molded in details. See all the rivet details on there. I believe it comes with a photo etch metal frame for the actual driver lookout. So that'll be nice. Here we got on this side some more parts for the fighting compartment. This is for where the gun's going to be sitting on. And over here you got some, again, nice diamond hatch detail for the fighting compartment floor. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to pick that up, but you can take my word for that. And some more exterior detail for the fighting compartments as well. Oh, it actually comes with its own, I believe this is an antenna, which is nice. You don't have to heat up a sprue and do it yourself. Very thin, very nice, nice addition. Again, take care with removing that thin piece from the sprue, because that'll definitely easily break off. Here we got our magic tracks, your typical dragon left and right, darker shade of gray on over here, and your lighter shade to designate which side each tracks go on. Very helpful. This is, again, more parts for the gun assembly. As you can see here, oops, sorry for the glare. Here is your molded in plastic barrel. It's kind of actually one piece, which is kind of interesting, but I won't be using that because it does come with the metal barrel, which is always the better option to use. But you can get a sense of just how massive that gun was. It comes here in plastic, 2 pieces, so very nice. Again, a lot more gun detail. There's your seat. I believe which piece is it? Oh, right here. So, whoops, where is it? There we go. Right here, this piece right here is the one where it's got the molded in springs. Not a whole lot of detail on that, so I will definitely be removing that and opting to install the metal springs for the seat. So that's it for that sprue. Next sprue, you got your gun shield. You got your gun shield for the 88mm gun. Very nice, nicely molded. And what I like about this is there is absolutely no ejector pin marks on the inside of this, so there will be no sanding and filling required. And again, very nice thin plastic. So it's definitely in scale, which is wonderful. And again, some more parts for the gun assembly, as well as the exhaust system. And again, you can see that there is 3 different exhaust manifolds that will be installed depending on which variant you choose. This is for the early version, and then you got your 2 typical ones that you may see on like Panzer IVs or Panzer IIIs, and that one of those is the ones that I'll be doing for the early or for the initial modified. Sorry. So that's it for that sprue, and wow, it's like we're halfway into the box still. So here we got, I believe this is the Pioneer tools or the OVM tools. Again, very nicely molded. A lot of detail. I don't believe there's photo etch for the metal clamps and clasps that'll attach it to the vehicle itself, but that's fine. It's nicely molded in already, as you can see there. Very good stuff. And you got this is drive sprockets, depending on which markings you want to have on, and both of them, actually I think the early is the only one that had just this option for the drive sprocket, but the initial modified, you could do either or, which is a nice addition. So again, very nice mold detail. There may even be some texture to that as well, which is nice, kind of like a cast texture. So very good stuff with that. Actually, I haven't seen a metal tow cable or metal cable for those the towing cables, I guess you would call them. Here we got the fighting compartment plate armor for the back, sides, and front. And again, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but again, very nice, thinly molded on detail, as well as the actual thickness of the plates itself, which is great. So very nice. No need for photo etch detail. And I'll bring your attention to the inside. Again, there's a lot of molded on detail on the inside, which is very nicely done. Get a lot of stuff in there. So again, you got your seam lines for where parts need to go. Not jumping out at your face, so you don't need to sand those down. But again, I love how thin the thickness of these armor plates are. Gives a real nice in-scale effect. So well done, Dragon, for that. So that's it for that sprue. Holy cow! Wow, we actually get a lot of extras. This is for, like I mentioned before in the instructions, for the mount for the MG34. Sorry, and you actually get molded in belt detail, belt and ammo belt. Excuse me, guys. That is very nice. Won't be used on this kit, but if you guys got a nice set of like a nice figure kit, this can definitely be used for that. If you guys got you know, spare MG34 or MG42s laying around, definitely add that to that. That's very nice little small addition there. Got your clear parts. Again, I always paint mine up, so clear parts don't really matter to me. There is a few periscopes that you'll be adding to this vehicle. Not as many as you know, Panzer IV or Tiger or Panzer III. And again, here's 4 sprues of basically the suspension and road wheel parts. And again, doubles up again on the drive sprockets, depending on which drive sprocket you want to use. Again, this is almost, you're probably looking at like a little over 100 parts or so, maybe even more, for just the suspension and road wheels. Actually, here is a nice little detail on each of the road wheels. Hopefully you guys can pick that up. I'm not sure what it says, but you can see right down in here, it's got either part numbers or just serial numbers for the rubber. And I believe it says, let's try to keep that in focus, I believe it says Continental. So it's a Continental rubber tire on that, which is it's a nice little detail, especially if you're not going to put a whole lot of mud on the suspension system and road wheels. That'll definitely show through once it's all painted up. Very nice. And last but not least, we have the hull itself. Very nice, molded in detail. You got a lot of rivets on the underside here. Unfortunately, that won't be you know, shown a whole lot. And a lot of molded in detail again on the sides of the plates as well, which is very nice. Looks a lot in scale. And it actually does have you probably won't be able to pick that up, but it does have a cast texture to it as well. I'm not sure how authentic that is, but it looks very nice. It may not be done on purpose. It may be done just from the molding process. I'll have to look that up. Oh, and inside you got your, looks like your jack, as well as the muzzle brake for the metal gun, for the aluminum barrel. So all in all, very nice kit, very well detailed, as you can expect from Dragon, and especially their Smart Kit series. Never have complaints there. I just wish they put a little more thought into their instructions, of course. So I would not recommend this for the beginner, just with the amount of parts that is included in this kit, as well as the confusing instructions based on which variant you want to do. It's never clearly defined, which is unfortunate. But again, that's just something that us modelers will have to deal with when we jump into Dragon kits. So, I mean, regardless of how their instructions are done, I love Dragon kits. They're one of my favorite kits to build, or favorite kit manufacturers to build from. So that'll be it for this review, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.